Don't forget that part. There we go. Yes.
Okay. So hi again. My name is May. So I'm a senior at BU, and I'm the one that's going to be organizing this group on campus, which was started by Professor Custer.
I go by, it's Custer, but I answered anything with a cut and an so you're in the ballpark. You're good by me.
And I'm gonna talk a little bit about like what drew me into it and like why I was inspired to do it a little after he talks about kind of the overview
Sure.
of everything first.
Cool. Awesome. Well, first off, thanks to big props to May. I know we started chatting about this whole journey, like, I don't know, what was it, like maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago, started talking about this. And I remember when I chatted with May about it, she's like, yes, I want to do this. So I remember, and you know, it's been fun to sort of get the chance to do it. As I sort of shared with May, this is sort of not possible were it not, you know, there were not help to make it happen, right? Like when I started, you know, figuring out how we could make this happen at more campuses, I was like, I'm gonna need your help to do it. So it's been awesome to get to work with May on her book over the last month or so. And yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do together here at BU. So yeah, so my name is Eric Custer. I'm a professor here at Georgetown. I'm sort of, as May's probably figured out along the way, I'm not your traditional professor in a lot of ways. I've really kind of come at this experience. Mostly I spent my career as an entrepreneur, and a few years ago, someone from Georgetown asked, "Hey, Eric, would you be interested in teaching a class?" And I was like, "Wait, me? like I wouldn't have gotten into Georgetown." So the fact that you're asking me to do this one is sort of hilarious. But that's how I got my start. I started teaching kind of traditional entrepreneurship classes, and it was very fun. Like it was interesting. I did it for a couple of years, but I very quickly, the whole thing felt pretty unfulfilling. Like it felt like it was just any other class. It wasn't actually moving the needle for students at all. And it was sort of, you know, they'd come in and do our thing and they'd leave and that was it. And that wasn't why I wanted to do this one, right? I mean, there's lots of ways to spend your time. I wanted to do something that actually mattered. So I thought, all right, like, what would I do differently to actually matter to students? What would I change about the whole experience? And so I thought a lot about my own life, and sort of as luck would have it, when I was in my 20s, I had the chance to write and publish 2 books. Now, keep in mind, as I told May, these were not bestsellers. I didn't make any money from the books, but the whole experience for me was like, it changed everything. It transformed my whole trajectory. Like people started to see me differently. And in fact, I saw myself differently. And that kind of like really became this sort of inflection point in my own life. It sort of changed the path I'm on to where, you know, I've had this different adventure. And so as I thought about it more, I was like, what if I just forced all my students to write a book? And so literally that's what I did. I walked into class and said, all right, all of you are writing books this semester. And you guys can imagine like what that looks like, right? Like they literally looked at me like I was like they'd seen a ghost. Like, what? And I get it, right? I mean, you know, if a professor tells you have like a 15-page paper due, people freak out. Here's me saying like, you're going to write a 200-page book. And so, but what I told them is the same thing I'll tell you guys. Is like, literally there's a process here. And I went out and studied a whole bunch of authors to figure out what they did. And so I sort of figured out like how you could do this. And then the second part of it is basically I told people that they could literally write on whatever they wanted to. And that was, I think, one of the things that May asked me is like, well, can I write on whatever? And I was like, yes. Like write a book that you're excited to write. And the most important thing in it is make sure that you believe this book is going to open doors for you, whether that's in a career path you're excited about, in a passion project you want to pursue, an industry you want to break into, a startup, whatever it is. Like, just make sure this book is a tool. And I think that's been part of the reason why this has worked so well. Like over the last 15 months, more than 100 of my students have gone on to publish. And what's crazy about that is typically only about 30 college students per year publish. So the whole thing is kind of crazy on that regard. But what's even more exciting about it is the fact that this has opened so many doors for my students. I mean, students have used this process to get jobs in, you know, venture capital firms, professional sports teams, media brands, ad agencies, Google, Facebook, kind of everything in between. They've used their books to open those doors. And so, kind of the reason why so I remember when I first sat down with May and I was talking about this one, I remember the question you sort of asked was like, why are you doing this, Eric? Like, why are you trying to bring this to new campuses? Which is a great question. And part of the reason is I'd say, I feel like if I didn't, it would never happen. And I originally, when I saw how powerful this thing was, I started reaching out to professors at other schools saying like, this is crazy. Like, it's changing the lives of my students. You've got to do this. And the reaction was pretty like sad, actually. Like the reaction from most professors was like, well, like, why should students write books? They don't know anything. And I was like, whoa, that's like the terrible attitude. Like, why would you, that's not a really good reason to not do this. And the other one was like, well, I don't have time. And so I sort of very quickly realized that this wasn't going to happen unless we sort of figured out a way to open source what I was doing and figure out a way to bring it more places. So that was kind of why when I shared this with May, she was like, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of students at BU who would benefit from this one. And why not spend your second semester of your senior year working on a book, right? And I think that's kind of what this is doing. So the idea really here is to sort of, take people through the same experience as what my students have gone through. And the idea basically is that we will be getting together and, sort of May has been going through the experience for a few weeks, so she's seen it, but together we'll kind of help take, BU students through the process. And we'll get together and we'll go through the process with the goal of really trying to get everyone to a first draft manuscript by the middle of June. And then we've got some cool things from there. We have a publisher that will work with us to publish people who are approved and want to go through this process together too. So we've got some cool opportunities that I think are just different and unique in that way. So kind of the cool part about the journey is assuming people, go through the process. There's a way for people in 2019 in November to publish a book. And that's what's been the fulfilling thing for me, is that I do think that finally there's this sort of like new path for people to go through it. So, yeah, I mean, I'll let May sort of share a few things, but maybe before I do and sort of, share a couple of things, right? One of the big things that people always say, or they ask me, is they're like, Eric, like, I'm busy. How could I possibly have time to do a book when I've got everything else going on? Which is a fair question, right? I mean, it seems ridiculous to do a book while you're in college, right? Like, how could you possibly do it? Which I get it, right? But the reality of it is I think the process is a lot more doable than people realize when you sort of like break it down into a process. And so, literally what we do is we get together once a week for like an hour and kind of like this workshop format, and we'll go through these pieces of it. And usually what most authors say is they spend about 2 to 3 hours per week outside of that working on their book. Now some weeks they spend more than that, some weeks less than that, but that's generally what they spend. And it really is designed to work for students in that way. We get together and there's sort of stuff that people can do along the way. And, people will approach this process differently. It's sort of interesting to see, some authors, they'll decide to do it and they'll, there's kind of a set of things to do each week. There's a set of targets. And some people, like every week, they're going to be, making progress on those things. And that works for some people. Other people are a little bit more episodic. They'll, put in a bunch of time one week, maybe write a bunch or create a bunch one week, and then the next week they won't do anything. And that kind of episodic works really well. And still others, and you know who you are, will basically, make a little bit of progress along the way. And then like 2 weeks before sort of the manuscript deadline, they'll just bunch of Red Bull, a bunch of time, and they'll crank out a first draft manuscript. And that works too. It's really interesting to see. It does work. I told May this. I took a group of college students from 9 different campuses through this exact same process starting in September. So they're like, they started a few months ago. And so they're turning in their first draft manuscripts really towards the end of September. And it's been amazing to watch. I mean, they're exactly the same situation all over the place, going through the same process. And right now, as of today, 23 of the 24 of them are either on pace to publish, or either been approved to publish already, or on pace to do it. So it works no matter how you do it. And I think that's kind of what's powerful about the whole thing, is it really is designed to be accessible and doable. So it's not like crazy. It's just a process where you avoid doing things that, the dumb stuff that other people do. So the second part of it, I think that's powerful in this one is really like, people say to me, oh, I don't have a topic, Eric. I'm not sure what I'd write. And I think that was actually one of May's questions, like, I don't know what book I'd even write. And really, like, the interesting thing about it is, like, usually in the course of a conversation, we can identify kind of an interesting direction to run after and do. So, what I would say to anyone that's sort of, watching this or seeing this, and you're like, all right, like, this is kind of interesting, is like, just grab time with me. I mean, I just help people identify interesting topics that they can work on and go through the process and help people create things. So it's been an incredible experience for me to get to do. It has been one of the most fun and interesting things I've ever had the chance to do. And I think it's neat. I think we've now got people in sort of like about 40 or 50 different campuses they're basically kind of going through this process together. And I think it's neat to sort of be expanding the community and see where it is. But yeah, I'm excited to get to do it. And who knows? If we play our cards right, we might have a bunch of folks publishing books here. We've got actually, I think we're having our next launch event. So we have a group of authors, I think like 10 or so authors that started this summer who are going to be launching up in Boston too. So I mentioned this to May that we may be able to do something fun sometime in like February with the next group of authors coming. But yeah, I don't know, May, is that good? Does that kind of cover some of the stuff you want me to cover?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect. Yeah. So feel free to reach out to me. And again, the last thing that I'll say on this one before I'll bounce and let you guys sort of take it from here is, the crazy thing, like generally speaking, the world of writing books, right? Only 2% of people that start a book ever finish. 2%. So it's very, very rare to finish a book. But through this process so far, about 90 to 95% of people that go through the process finish. And I think it's because of the fact that we have figured out the power of creating community, the power of this process, and a little bit of coaching, right? I mean, we figured out how to coach people through topics, have editorial help along the way, and I think that's why this is so fun. I think that it sort of makes figures out a way for us to sort of help make this possible. So yeah, super excited, and again, huge props to May for being willing to kind of help make this happen and make this happen with me here at BU, and yeah. Excited to talk to folks as we go forward here.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye, May. We'll talk soon. Bye, guys.
Bye. Okay. Can you hear me? I can't hear your microphone, but it's okay.
Sorry, because I'm in a study room. I didn't know I had to talk.
I'll just ask you to introduce yourself just a tiny bit after I kind of talk about my personal background of what I decided to do. So I'm recording this, so I'm talking to everyone who's gonna watch this, so
Yeah.
don't feel weird if I'm everyone, even though there's only one person. Okay, so yeah, he reached out to me right before finals and was like, hey, do you want to write a book? And I was like, well, yeah, that's something I've always wanted to do, my whole life. I've always been a writer, and I think a lot of people are, in the same position as that. And I wrote for The Freep and The Odyssey as well, which a lot of people have background in. It's kind of not enough doing that, or you don't really learn much. I feel like. So he reached out to me. I was like, yeah, this is something that I can take into my own hands and really pursue. And from what he said, the journey it takes you on and the doors it opens up seems to be a really good thing to do. So far, I have had one interview so far. So the book process is based on. Okay, wait. Let me start from the beginning. So you said that the first step you do is to have a topic chat with him. I didn't know really what he was gonna write about, but he basically asked you to choose 2 subjects that you're interested in. For me, I'm a poli-sci major, so I'm very interested in politics and social movements, but I'm also very interested in the arts, music, dance, entertainment industry. So I decided to merge those 2 subjects and kind of find a niche there. But obviously I'm still figuring out. It's not you decide what you're gonna do at the very beginning. It's kind of a go process. It'll help you along the way. But that's my starting point. So for my first interview, you reach out to people at first before you start reaching out to people you want to talk to at potential companies. For me, I reached out to my hula teacher because I'm from Hawaii, and he's in the entertainment industry, and that was my first step. And the interview went pretty well and pretty exciting. That's pretty much where I'm at so far. I'm only a few weeks in. You won't have to start doing that until you kind of get the ball rolling on your topic and kind of settle in on it. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about yourself and what made you interested in this at all.
Oh, what I'm interested in?
Or what towards what interested you about this project?
Oh, actually, my friend introduced this to me an hour ago, and she knew that I liked writing, Yeah. But he mentioned something that for seniors, is it for seniors only, or
No, it's not for, what year are you?
I'm actually just sophomore?
No, it's not for seniors. It's just that I think he reached out more to second semester seniors just because we're starting to look for a job now, and this might help with that. But
Yeah.
you start any time, and the sooner you start, probably the better, you know. Plus, it's like stuff gets more stressful at this time, so you have more time to
True.
commit to it. So it's definitely open to people of any year.
Cool.
Yeah, so he just wanted me to go through a few slides, if I can just pull those up real quick. Um, okay, wait, can you see that?
Yeah, I can. That's cool.
Okay, not completely good at technology, but that's great. Okay, so just a few things. This is kind of what he already like talked about. The main thing that sets people back is that they find this whole process, you know, very intimidating because like the media kind of portrays it like writing a book is like this hard deal, like just a guy like agonizing over his manuscript. And then as he said, like people who start never finish. Um, but these are like reasons he's written why that people don't really pursue it. You know, you do it alone and it can be very isolating. You don't know where to start, and it's like there's no one to talk to, no one to help you with when you get stuck, things like that. Um, but imagine you had a group of friends who were all writing books together, and we meet up every week and have support. That's basically what we do here this semester. So it'll be very supportive and not isolating. So this is what the semester will look like. It's a 20-week process, like he said. The goal is to have a manuscript finished by mid-June. So after finals, of course, they take into account like that week, those few weeks that you have to study, and spring break as well. That's vacation. But basically, the commitment would be just this weekly outing, and you can even watch it, the recording as well. For some reason, you can't make it, and then 2 to 4 hours of your independent work, whether that's interviewing people or doing research or doing your writing. You know, you can work that around your own schedule, however you want. So it's actually not really that much. I feel like some classes are actually way more work than this. He told me that when he originally taught it, he taught it as a 3 credit class. So people were able to do this with other classes as well. So yeah, the goal would be the 25,000 word manuscript by mid-June, and then you can continue on to see if you want to publish or not. That's your choice. So these are some people that have published with him in the past. For example, after Madison published, she was hired to work at Disney, was featured on the largest podcast dedicated to theme parks, hosted a book lecture. She was hired at Masterclass and nominated for Forbes 30 Under 30. I'm gonna like send these slides to everyone so you can look through them yourself. I don't have to go through all of them, but as you can see, it's like actually pretty impressive. I had no idea that, you know, writing a book at this age could really do this, but it's been pretty inspiring to see all these like different examples and to see where it could take me and everyone else. I think a really big part of it is networking because it's kind of difficult to do that in college. You know, it's really actually quite helpful. I only started doing it once I started writing for the newspaper, talking to like random people in the arts business in Boston. It's been really helpful to like gain all these connections around the city. So definitely this will help with that and increase those connections. So he splits up the semester into these 3 phases. So right now we're going to be in the Get Smart phase, which is going to be roughly a month. So this is like still deciding on your topic and doing about 6 interviews or so. And secondary interviews are actually not, well, he'll explain that later, but that's like not really in person. That's like using a story from research, so you don't actually interview the person yourself. But so this phase would just be targeting only 6 interviews and sort of still consolidating your topic. And then the core part of the semester would be the create stories phase. So when, as you start to interview more people, you'll get more of an idea of what your overall themes are, and you'll start to like know how to put them together. So this is where it's really gonna start to get the ball rolling. First, we have a hired editor to like make sure that you're keeping on track and everything makes sense and everything, and to help you along that process. And then the last bit is done with the interviews and kind of binding everything together into a coherent story. So that would be the last 6 weeks of the process. So yeah, it's actually, I don't know. Do you think it sounds very daunting? I mean, I feel like it sounds quite doable, actually. I mean, it's a little bit scary, but also very exciting at the same time. Yeah, it's totally doable. You have help and it works. So yeah, details. So the only price for this is $150 that goes towards the editor, the person who's hired to help us edit our manuscripts and keep us on track. That's the only fee that you have. So for the whole 6 months process,
How much is it for one person?
$150.
Oh, one person is.
Yeah, that's the dues, like for when you join. You know, when have you done any like clubs and stuff? That's like
Yeah.
that's the same as most BU clubs, I would say. Yeah, that would be the only thing that I guess. Yeah.
Because it says group dues, so I'm kind of confused whether it's like a group you pay together 150 or
per person. So
okay.
Yeah. You can talk with the professor more on how to, because I don't know if it has to be like one time thing, like one time payment. You can split it up, like
Yeah.
should be okay. Yeah. As he said, it'd be best if you can go to this first link right here with him to schedule a phone call with him to like kind of talk about what potential topics you might be interested in writing about or looking into, and he'll like kind of help you. Like when I did my phone call with him, I was like, I have no idea like what's going on. Like I don't. Yeah, so you should go ahead and schedule that. That you schedule it right now during the call, if you don't mind. Did you click on the link?
I don't think I can.
Oh well, just well,
I screenshot it.
Okay, well just make sure to do that, and then the second link here is like a little questionnaire that asks like what the subjects you're interested in and maybe which ones you'd like to pair together. Like for me, it was politics and art, just like stuff like that. So you kind of have a direction that you want to go in, but you can always change your mind. Like you don't have to really have any like solid idea of what you want to do yet. So he's definitely always there to help you with that. So yeah, make sure you schedule it afterwards when you can click on it or paste it or in anything. So yeah, do you have any other questions?
I don't know.
I know that was like a lot of information, but like, does it seem like something that's like doable, or what do you think are your thoughts?
Does look doable. So he said it'll be published in June. So even
Yeah.
if you're like not around,
No,
just
I
in
won't.
online.
the publishing is to set in November, but
Oh,
because there's like editing and stuff, but the June is the finished rough manuscript, like the first one. So it's not going to be the final one. It's
mm,
just like basically collecting all your interviews and turning them into stories and like making it a coherent thing. Yeah.
oh yeah. What is the interview for? Because if you're doing a fiction story, then what will we interview people about?
Yeah, that the fiction one I'm not too clear on, so you should ask
Yeah.
personally because
Yeah.
most people chose to do like things in business, science, the ones I'm familiar with, but there also have been people asking me about fiction. But he hasn't explained that fully to me, so I think you should like schedule a call with him and ask him specifically about that. And for
Okay.
yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, make sure you do that. And it was nice talking to you and everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yep. Thank you.
Figure out how to end this. Okay. End meeting. Okay, bye.